Thanks everyone for listening. I'm Brian.
I'm Drew Perot.
And we are on a journey to become better leaders by touring fantastic worlds, by looking at this inspiring lore, and by going on a wonder tour.
We connect leadership concepts to story context because it sticks to our brains better. You can find out more at wondertourpodcast.com.
So yeah, in the last episode, we talked about what is the purpose of technology. And in the context of myself, the technology for escapism, technology for gaming and movies, we challenged each of us to look at, why am I using this technology? What, is it supporting a purpose in my life? Do I understand what I'm getting out of it? This is kind of the same question, but it's the top-down question, is what's the purpose of a technology in an organization? And one really powerful way to look at it, again, is to take it back to the humans. Who is the technology for? Who are you trying to benefit by deploying technology in your organization? And it might, you might be doing it because everybody else is doing SAP, or everybody else is doing Salesforce, or because there's, your old ERP system is, bloated and outdated and built on some server that you can't get upgrades for anymore, and you got to do a new thing. Great. A lot of times technology programs happen to us. But while we're doing them, who are we doing them for? And I love that you brought in the idea of personas as like a tech world way of saying, like, let's think about the people that are in our organization and the roles that they play and the problems they kind of try to solve, and look at the technology from that lens. So what does that look like in your experience? What are good and bad examples of how that might go?
Well, let's go back to our source material here in Ready Player One, and let's look at how some of the different characters handle who they're designing for. So the most obvious example is probably Sorrento and Halladay. Right. So we have a couple scenarios where those guys even are in the same room together in these memories that we're looking at in the archives. But either way, their approach is totally different. Halladay is all about creating joy for the players. He's trying to create this world where people have infinite possibilities. And so that's why it is turned up to 11. And it does allow you to do all of these crazy feats. And he really is so focused on the players, the grassroots, and how he can do good things for them. Where you see Sorrento, and of course, the typical movie villain way. I mean, come on, you have Ben Mendelsohn playing this villain. Ben Mendelsohn basically exclusively plays villains that have some greedy, like they're just trying to get money and they don't care about sustainability or quality or anything else, right?
Right.
But he's coming in and he's not worried about who he's designing for. Who he's designing for is him and the shareholders, pretty much. That's it. So He's like, he comes into Halladay and he's like, well, we should have like a gold tier and a platinum tier, and the highest tier could be water. It's like, well, he has no concept of who he's designing for and why that would be good for the players. It's all just like, we could upsell them on X.
Right. No, this is amazing. And he's even got a little bit of the Casablanca system, right? Where he's bought into the rules so thoroughly that he's like nakedly two-faced. He's like, oh, I had to make you that offer because the board said that I had to, but actually I really wanted you to reject it because I want to crush you and, murder you personally and just take over. Like he's very much into it for himself, but also for the joy of imposing order on this chaotic thing, right? He's that personality as like, the problem is that everybody gets to do what they want. And the goal is that everybody behaves and they get punished when they don't behave, right? So the organization that he runs, that we see, is an organization which has taken this promised world of you can do anything you want and made a whole bunch of grunts out of it, right? They're the people that work for their organization are literally the way that a lot of us feel working for a big organization, is they have the white barcode number on their chest and the faceless mask, and they just do what they're told. Right. So that's the Hollywoodized version of it, but it's also kind of a real thing, right? How many times have you been part of a software deployment, a new technology? Oh, hey, we've got a new expense report system and travel request system at our company. And you just feel like you're just this, barcode mouse trying to run through the maze, figuring out how can I get paid back for coffee the other day, right? It's not for me. There's some purpose on the other end of this, but it's clearly for the organization because nobody considered my experience in the process of rolling this out.
Yeah, it's that process design or experience design and stuff like that we definitely need to look at. And then it's just, to me, it's the approach that we take when we do it. Who is the technology for? It's going back to what you said in the last episode, which is that really, there is no purpose of technology. What is your purpose? So, unless we are very clear in what is your purpose, then it's easy to fall into the trap. And so, maybe let's look at another example in Ready Player One. If we instead look at a maybe less obvious example than Sorrento and Halladay, if we were to look at Iraq versus Sam. So, talk to me a little bit about what you see in those two characters and how they're contrasted in their approach to technology and to problem solving in the world or in this virtual world.
Yeah, so these are great avatars of personalities, right? So Irok is the kind of the second in command villain or whatever. He's he's the other antagonist, and he is perfectly adapted to this environment. He's completely bought into the Oasis. He's completely bought into this mercenary winner take all. It's all about the Benjamins, thing, and he'll just do whatever is required, and he's quite happy about it. Like he knows that he's sort of mercenary, but he's like, hey, I'm really good at this. This is I rock, so. And he thrives in that environment up until the point at the end of the movie where somebody even more mercenary and heartless than him, threatens to take it all away. Whereas the Samantha character, who's Kira, right, and is her character, is she's very upfront. Once Wade Parsival has a real conversation with her, she's very upfront about like, you don't understand, like this, I'm not here for the game. I'm not here to win because I want to win. I'm here because I'm trying to solve a problem in the real world. This giant evil corporation can't be in charge, and I have to get there first, right? And so she has a purpose. She has a purpose that is larger than the virtual world set of rules. She's just trying to follow the rules so that she can have agency in the real world.
She's focused on people and freedom, and she has
Right.
a personal purpose, where
Right.
you see the opposite is Iraq, who doesn't really have a personal purpose. And if you take this and you look at how Halladay kind of designed this environment, the Iraq person, of course, that's going to be a potential option, that persona. And he's trying not to cater too hard to that persona, but of course, it's a game. And so he does allow somebody to go down that path. As the creator of the game, it is possible somebody's going to go down that path. But really, what we see going back to Halladay, what he wants to see is he wants to see the world evolve with its users, and he wants to see a world that actually continues to benefit its users and doesn't converge towards like Iraq's end. Look at the end of Iraq, like you said. He's there and he's like, wait a second, you're saying we might destroy the game? It's like, but the game is everything to me. Like, we can't destroy the game.
Right. Well, and like the best thing, it's part of the trap of escapism, right? Is the best thing that can possibly happen to Iraq is he gets more stuff, and the worst thing that can possibly happen to Iraq is he loses all of his stuff. Right? Like neither of these are actually terribly consequential, but he's locked himself into this paradigm. And so, the movie, of course, presents us with our main character, Wade, has to make a decision between these two paths, right? When we meet him, he's totally on the IROC path. He's like, oh yeah, I got all sorts of plans. When I win this thing, I'm going to buy a big house and a bunch of stuff. Like he doesn't actually have a purpose other than escapism. But he has the advantage that he's bought into not just the game, but he's bought into Halladay's persona. He's bought into this persona of this character who is trying to transcend his personal struggles and create something that helped other people. And so at the end, we kind of get, he kind of gets clarified that that's the decision he's making. He's got the example of Samantha Kira. He's got the example of, I did actually accidentally make friendships in this game, not just because we were helping each other get gold, but because we just had all these casual hangout interactions. And they show that, I think in the book, they show that a lot better, the sort of the casual friendship building that is enabled by this virtual world too. But because he's got those human connections and because he recognizes that Halladay himself never really got to that point, never really figured out how to make human connections through his virtual world, he kind of, our main character, of course, very Hollywood, sort of understands that and makes that call.
But isn't he's the second Halladay? And that's what Halladay wanted. He wanted a second Halladay who didn't have the failings of the first Halladay. And so he designed a puzzle that hopefully the second Halladay would be able to solve, and that second Halladay would be the 2.0 version that would be able to figure it out. And then we see iteration. Yeah, exactly. He's the better iteration, essentially. And of course, there could be a third and whatever still. But what we see is that, they institute 2 days a week of downtime on the Oasis, amongst, I'm sure, many other things. That is essentially heads up governance that's trying to be for people instead of being for a company or for an experience or something like that. It's all about who are we designing for? Who are the personas in our world?